As President Lai plans his first overseas visit, China plans more military drills around Taiwan. A break in the fighting as Israel and Hezbollah agree a 60-day ceasefire. A small gesture with a big message. Why a celebration by the captain of Taiwan's baseball team has gone viral. Plus, ugly and invasive, a giant fish wreaks ecological havoc in Taiwan's scenic Sunwon Lake. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. President Ching-te is preparing to visit Taiwan's 3 diplomatic allies in the Pacific, but a scheduled transit in the United States has prompted a sharp response from China. Reese Ayers is live for us here in Taipei. Reese, why is China weighing in on Lai's itinerary?
Well, China's upset that Lai will transit in the U.S. state of Hawaii and potentially also the overseas territory of Guam, all on his way to visit Tuvalu, Palau and the Marshall Islands as part of his first overseas trip as the president of Taiwan. Now, China's accusing Lai of seeking independence by relying on outside forces and also of violating that one China policy. Taiwan can't schedule official trips to places like the US because the US recognizes Beijing over Taipei, and that's due to pressure from China. But even this, a simple stopover in Hawaii, has prompted a response from China, who are urging Washington, D.C. Not to allow Lai to land on US soil and to stop enabling what China's calling Taiwan's separatist forces.
任何企图制造一中一台、两个中国等违反一个中国原则的挑衅行径，都必将遭到全体中国人民的反对。我们敦促美方恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定，停止向台独势力发出任何错误信号。
Now, a group of US Congress members have sent an official letter to US President Joe Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken, requesting that they allow Lai to land in Hawaii and even actively go and meet him there. There's been no response on that yet from Washington or from Taiwan, but a meeting seems incredibly unlikely. That would be very provocative to Beijing. There's already anticipation from Taiwan and other regional security officials that China's quite likely to have some military exercises around Taiwan in the coming days as Lai prepares to depart on this trip to the Pacific on November 30th.
Thank you, Reese. That was Reese Ayers reporting from Taipei. You can follow coverage of Lai's Pacific trip all next week here on TaiwanPlus News. Taiwan's Coast Guard has intercepted 4 Chinese vessels operating in restricted waters near Taiwan's outlying Kinmen Islands. For the second day in a row, Chinese Coast Guard ships crossed the boundary into Taiwan's waters. Patrol boats from Taiwan's Coast Guard were dispatched and escorted them out. The Kinmen Islands are only 10 kilometers from the coastal Chinese city of Xiamen.
其实每一个月都会有几次哈，他们会这样子进来。那我们就是本于捍卫主权，一定都是会予以并航驱离监控，站在主权的立场，没有退缩。
This latest intrusion was the 4th this month and the 54th this year. Taipei Mayor Chiang Wan-an says he's confident an annual forum between Taipei and Shanghai will move ahead despite tensions between Taiwan and China.
双城好，两岸好这样的角度出发，我们也认为一定要办，所以我们有信心今年可以举办。
The Taipei-Shanghai City Forum, also known as the Twin City Forum, is an annual conference between officials and residents from the 2 municipalities. There were concerns that this year's event would be cancelled due to heightened tensions between Taiwan and China. According to reports, Shanghai has already submitted a list of participants who will come to Taiwan for the event, but planning is still underway. A 60-day ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah has come into effect in Lebanon. While some people are hopeful that the U.S. brokered deal will lead to a lasting peace, many locals remain skeptical. Chris Gorin reports.
An Israeli airstrike hits a building in central Beirut, one of the last in a streak of attacks just hours before a U.S. brokered ceasefire took effect between Israel and the militant group Hezbollah.
I just spoke with the Prime Minister of Israel and Lebanon. I'm pleased to announce that their governments have accepted the United States proposal to end the devastating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah.
The 60-day ceasefire would see Israel withdraw from southern Lebanon, which will be brought under control by the Lebanese military rather than Hezbollah fighters. Lebanon has been seeing its deadliest fighting in decades, resulting in more than 3,000 Lebanese killed and more than 1 million displaced. In Israel, more than 60,000 people living near the Lebanon border have also been displaced. Israel says the ceasefire will allow them to return home, and with Hezbollah badly damaged, refocus the country's war efforts on Hamas in Gaza, where more than 100 Israeli hostages remain captive after over a year.
נשלים את חיסול החמאס, נשיב את כל חטופינו, נבטיח שעזה לא תהווה עוד איום על ישראל, ונחזיר את תושבי הצפון בבטחה לבתיהם.
News of the ceasefire was met with cheers in some parts of Lebanon, even as strikes continued overnight. Many in Lebanon remain skeptical.
إذا وقف نحن ما حدا حيرجع على بيوته هلا قبل ما يطلع قرار من المقاومة لنعرف شو بقى نعمل، يعني ما حدا بياخذ بكلام العدو. يمكن نحن نرجع على بيوتنا يقوموا يعملوا فينا مجزرة وساعتها توقف الحرب.
إن شاء الله يكون عندهم مصداقية، أن يكونوا صادقين بوقف النار، لأنه كل يوم عندهم رأي.
Reactions in Israel are also mixed.
I am very happy. Ceasefire is always good and would like, but I will be more happy if it will be in Gaza too.
Honestly, my take is that it makes us look a bit weak. There's something to like getting over there and destroying all the terrorist infrastructure and just, you know, finishing the job in some sense.
More than a year to bring the hostages home with a hostage deal. And the only way to do it is with a ceasefire in Gaza as well, not just in the north.
With the ceasefire officially in place, people in the region and across the world are watching to see if it will hold. Luffy Lee and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Ukraine is seeking weapons aid from South Korea to help in this fight against Russia, according to media reports. One report says a delegation led by Ukraine's defense minister, Rustem Umerov, met with South Korea's national security advisor, Chun Wak-sik. Another report says the delegation is expected to meet with South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol. U.S. office and South Korea's defense ministry declined to confirm the reports. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in October that Kyiv would ask Seoul for artillery and air defense systems. North Korea recently sent troops to help Russia's war effort. Taiwan's national baseball team's captain has gone viral for a gesture he made during the country's gold medal match against Japan. After hitting a critical 3-run homer at the WSBC Premier12 tournament, Chen Jie-xian seemingly pointed to a blank spot on his jersey. Taiwan competes under the name Chinese Taipei at international sporting events due to pressure from China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory. Chen says he tried to show the absence of Taiwan's name on their baseball jerseys to call attention to the restrictions Taiwan faces on the world stage.
我们代表了台湾，然后是台湾的骄傲，在这么关键的时候能够击出这么关键的全垒打，对我来说是很振奋。然后，当然。 那个手势就是要告诉大家，我们是从台湾来的。
To learn more about the significance of Chen Jie-xian's gesture and why it's caught on in Taiwan, Leslie Liao spoke with baseball commentator Daniel Shi.
Tell us about, really quickly, the gesture that Chen Jie-xian made. What was that gesture all about, and why was it so significant?
It's one of those things that you see a lot of the other teams make. Doesn't matter if it's like here in the States, like even when you're doing like intercollegiate sports, especially when they have like the name of the school on their chest of the jersey, they do a lot of this to say like, hey, we're Texas. You look at all the teams in the Premier 12 this year, every single team has either some sort of abbreviation or the full name of the country on the chest. Taiwan still uses the former design, so they changed the design, but they still only have the national team logo, which is the C and the T on the left side of the chest, and then the rest of the chest is basically blank. And then because the middle of the chest is empty, and then the logo is on the left, and then when he was doing this, he also covered up the CT logo. So it really seemed like there was like he was pointing at something, pointing at nothing, which for us also felt like you're pointing at something, right?
As you said, Taiwan competes as Chinese Taipei, but it's Taiwan. Why is it that Taiwan can't compete as Taiwan?
The Premier 12 is hosted by the World Baseball Softball Confederation, which is the Olympic-sanctioned association responsible for all international tournaments of baseball and softball. Taiwan competes under Chinese Taipei under the Olympics and all of the other Olympic-sanctioned events. And since the Premier 12 is hosted by a committee that's also sanctioned by the Olympics, then all of the corresponding team names has to be Chinese Taipei, even if they're representing Taiwan.
Why do you think Chen Jie-hsien's gesture just caught on, just striping his hands across the chest like that? Why is that such a huge cultural phenomenon in Taiwan right now?
First of all, it's the first time Team Taiwan has won a world championship at the adult level in baseball. It is quite literally the first time that we can tell the rest of the baseball world that we are the best at this sport. And so that alone can manifest a lot of pride, a lot of national pride. We put in so much work into this sport that we are world's number one. But when you do that, and at the same time, they go online and they go Taiwan World Championship, by technicality, they won't find anything because the name is not Taiwan. You want to tell people where you're from. You want to tell people that you are the best. And this gesture, I think, is the best way to do that without actually doing it, without actually saying it. And I thought that was a very, I can't imagine being in his situation when you have probably the biggest swing of your life and you still have the ability to say, hey, let's do this.
That was baseball commentator Daniel Shi. Taiwanese Olympic gold medalist Lin Yuting has dropped out from the World Boxing Cup finals. This comes after the organization repeatedly questioned Lin's eligibility. According to Taiwan Sports Administration, the federation is still new and medical information submitted by participants lacks adequate privacy and confidentiality protections. Given this situation, Lin's coach decided to withdraw her from the competition to protect the boxer and avoid unnecessary controversy. Lin previously faced questions over her gender at the Paris Games this summer. Coming up after the break, an escalating crisis in the Philippines' top leadership threatens to further divide the country.
We bring you stories from Taiwan.
Every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? On TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Taiwan's new Labor Minister Hong Shen-han has vowed to combat workplace bullying and reform toxic work cultures at the ministry. He has given his personal contact information to workers so they can reach him directly.
我们会还是要把可以反映跟申诉的管道，我们必须把它健全跟完备，这是我们要做的事情。但在那之前，在现在这个非常的时期，那我可能也会需要同仁们的一些提醒。
Hong takes office after his predecessor resigned over a workplace bullying scandal that led to a ministry employee's suicide. He specifically abolished several toxic practices at the agency where the employee worked, such as making workers run laps. Hong has also pledged to advocate for additional staff to ease the labor shortages and to investigate accusations of corruption by former officials. Campaigners say Taiwan cannot use the country's population density as an excuse for denying long-term residents access to dual nationality. Taiwan requires most foreigners to give up their original nationality to become Taiwanese citizens. That's despite natural-born Taiwanese being able to hold multiple passports. Taiwan's Interior Ministry on Tuesday said changing the rule could have a negative effect on the country's finances, social welfare, and national security. The ministry was forced to respond after a petition on a government's website gained more than the required 5,000 signatures. Crossroads, the nonprofit that launched the petition, says permanent residents are already contributing to Taiwanese society. For more, Louise Watt spoke to the head of Crossroads, David Zhang.
The government says it won't budge on its requirement that permanent residents have to renounce their original nationality before they can become Taiwanese citizens. What is your reaction?
Response that we received from the Ministry of Interior was completely expected. The way the mechanisms for the petition website work is that the agency that is executing, basically the naturalization process, which is Ministry of Interior in this case, would be the one to respond to the petition. However, as our petition proposal and our campaign proposal is centered around is about legislative reform. And overall, this is kind of out of the boundaries of the Ministry of Interior. Overall, for our campaign, we have been emphasizing how the petition is really just the first step in our campaign. It was simply a tool to formally garner and gather and present public support and attention to this issue, which in essence would also help us to more deeply engage legislators as well as other relevant government officials to really kind of start bringing this issue into the public discourse and to be into consideration.
What is the crux of your campaign? Why should Taiwan be making it easier for foreigners, for permanent residents to gain citizenship?
We're against the backdrop of Taiwan's population issues and demographic issues, as well as talent shortage. Taiwan really does need to be looking at options and solutions to help resolve and help counter its population loss and talent shortage. Permanent residents actually are a very low-hanging fruit. These are folks who've been in Taiwan for extended periods of time, many for more than decades, who've already integrated into Taiwanese society, who are contributing, paying taxes, paying into social welfare systems, and have proven their loyalty to Taiwan over the years. It's time for Taiwan to really kind of integrate them officially and to close the inequalities between, foreign residents and allowing them to officially become citizens and enjoying the benefits and also paying the obligations and fulfilling the obligations as citizens in Taiwan. And as far as their children is concerned, allowing their children to also become citizens and adding to the workforce and citizen population.
That was David Zhang, Secretary General of Crossroads. The Philippines Vice President Sara Duterte has been summoned by the National Bureau of Investigation to answer questions over her threats to have the president, his wife, and the Speaker of the House assassinated. Duterte and President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s political partnership has descended into bitterness following months of infighting. Gino Lopez reports.
Protesters outside the Philippine Congressional Building calling for the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. Inside, she is under fire, facing a congressional hearing for alleged corruption, including the misuse of $6 million worth of confidential funds in just 11 days. Claiming political persecution, Duterte has retaliated with a series of threats against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the latest not only the most shocking, but the most severe.
Kasi may kinausap na ako na tao. Sinabi ko sa kanya, kapag pinatay ako, patayin mo si BBM, si Lisa Araneta, at si Martin Romualdez. No joke.
In a press briefing, Duterte said the president and his allies wander out of the way to solidify their hold on power. Marcos and Duterte were themselves former political allies who ran together and won a landslide victory in the 2022 national elections. Both are from political dynasties. Marcos Jr. is the son of Ferdinand Sr., the dictator ousted by a popular revolt in 1986. While Duterte's father Rodrigo is the most recent former president, notorious for his pro-China stance and instigating a bloody drug war that saw thousands of Filipinos killed. Barely 2 years in office, the Marcos Duterte alliance fell apart as they disagreed on various domestic and international issues, most notably maritime disputes in the South China Sea, and the approach to the so-called war on drugs. Like his daughter, the vice president, Rodrigo Duterte is also facing scrutiny, questioned in Congress for his administration's drug war, as well as being investigated by the International Criminal Court. President Marcos has emphasized that none of this is politically motivated, and he has vowed to fight back against his vice president's threats.
Ang ganyang kriminal na pagtatangka ay hindi dapat pinapalampas. Yan ay aking papalagan. As a democratic country, we need to uphold the rule of law.
The growing tensions between the two factions are expected to divide the country. Despite the accusations against them, the Dutertes remain very popular. The most recent poll put Sara Duterte's trust rating at 55%. And supporters have come out for them not just in the Philippines, but also abroad, where the Dutertes have a large following among overseas voters. Analysts say the political drama could be a tactic to distract the public from the ongoing scrutiny faced by the Dutertes, and could leave the country's traditional opposition forces at a disadvantage, especially as the country's 2025 midterm elections draw near.
The opposition candidates and opposition parties will have a difficulty fighting for media mileage when the media is focused on Duterte and Marcos, especially when it highlights another key feature of Philippine politics, which is political dynasties, or families that control multiple positions in government and govern according to their own benefit, rather than public service.
Duterte's most recent threat is now a matter of national security, and the Justice Ministry has vowed an investigation. While it is unclear if Duterte will successfully be impeached, one certainty is that this most recent political drama will leave the Philippines even more polarized than before. Howard Chang and Gino Lopez for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's largest lake has an invasive species problem, the giant snakehead. Locals have gotten creative as they try to root out this environmental threat. Wesley Lewis has more.
This is Taiwan's renowned Sun Moon Lake, the country's largest body of water. It is also among its most scenic spots, hosting dozens of endemic aquatic species. But its natural balance and serenity have come under threat. Native to Southeast Asia, the giant snakehead has appeared in Sun Moon Lake and been preying on other species, which they're able to swallow whole. The large predator was first brought to the country as ornamental fish for aquariums.
一开始它孵化其实是红色的，我们在猜可能是因为它一开始进来的时候它蛮漂亮的，所以会有水族业者他会去进口这个东西。
Adult giant snakeheads can exceed 1 meter in length, and out in the open, they can be difficult to catch. It also has virtually no natural competitors or predators here, so the government introduced an eradication plan to control its population. In 2020, nearly 70,000 giant snakeheads were removed through electrofishing, which uses electrical rods that cause uncontrolled muscular convulsions in the fish. And then once they're close enough, the fish are stunned. This operation seems to be working. Last year, over 35,000 giant snakeheads were caught using the same method, and this year, the number dropped to less than 3,500. but officials say it's too early to celebrate.
有可能是因为我们前一段时间那么多年下来的努力的成果，那我们后续我们明年大概也会持续观察，只要因为现在已经假设说已经执行到尾声了，那我想应该还是去保持着它一个数量的控制。
Local fishers like Mr. Chen are also doing what they can to protect the local fish, coming out before sunrise, when the invasive giant snakeheads tend to feed, to set up traps.
那它所有欲望最高的时候，基本上活饵是最吸引它的，所以我都会先钓日月潭的总统鱼，来就是当成活饵。啊，怎么这样？哇！
But sometimes the fish outsmart the fishers, eating the live bait and avoiding the hook. But there's another way the locals are addressing the overpopulation of giant snakeheads, turning those that are caught into a delicacy.
因为它只要变成一道佳肴好吃的话，大家喜欢吃它，它应该很快就会不见了。
But the invasive species hasn't disappeared just yet. And until it does, fishers, officials, and restaurateurs here in Sun Moon Lake will keep finding their own ways to address this issue, determined to resolve the matter by hook or by crook. Howard Zhang and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally, take a look at this exhibition of AI-powered humanoid robots on display in France. This could soon be coming to your living room. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.